rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. I am down for the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode. of the Eric Dawson Show. Here with Diana Marie Clements on the line and Vincent Squire yelling from South Jersey. To be more specific. How you guys doing?
Ladies first. Good morning.
No, Diane's always working, so maybe she's got going. So how you doing, Vincent?
Oh, I'm fine, man. How are you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. It was good. I posted something on my page today, which I wanted to just kind of, use to help focus people a little bit. If I can pull it up, man, the internet here is so slow. I gotta try to figure out how to do something about it. But what I posted was, I said, well, it's not my quote, but I'm actually gonna take this and I'm gonna design a shirt and wear the shirt. It says, starve your distractions, feed your focus. Vincent, when I saw that, I was like, that's it. Starve your distraction. Don't feed. Remember how people say don't feed into it? Hey, Jody Pittman, how you doing today? But people say don't feed into it. Don't feed into it. That whole saying, right? Well, but that's it, right? So you're feeding your distraction. So while you're trying to make advancements, the things that are distractions to you, you give a lot of time to. And so the time you're giving to those distractions, you're not able to give focus to the thing that that you're striving for. And so starve your distractions, feed your focus. That is the message for the day.
That is so true. That is the actual premise of maximum sophisticated confusion. To get you off your focus. You're distracted by all those shiny things and crazy innuendos and accusations and everything that keeps your energy and your mental paralysis off of what's true and important.
Yeah. So starve your distractions, guys. Starve them. Right? But it's another way of saying what my dad said, right? He said, those who you won't let die, including those who you won't let die, right? So the distractions, not just inanimate things, but people, right, are distractions. So starve them. Let them die. Let them die right on the vine so that you can feed your focus and survive.
That's exactly what your dad was saying.
That's what he was saying, man. So listen, guys. I don't know where we're gonna go, Vincent. We can yell at each other today over Biden and Kamala.
Kamala.
Say
a comma and a la.
Say it with me. Was it Sesame Street where they had like the bouncing thing that went over the letters to sound out the word?
Yes. One of these things is not like the other.
Well, both of those things are not like the other.
I mean, if we could learn how to say Ivanka and Ivana correctly, we could say Kamala. Really.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm getting distracted. I hope my feed is not as choppy as it looks on my end to you guys. And if it is, I apologize. I think tomorrow I'm gonna experiment being closer to the router, and maybe that'll help me go to the sub basement. A lot of people would like to see me there, right? Locked up. Otherwise known as the dungeon.
No comment. Oh boy.
Anyway, before we get started on like national politics and stuff like that, Diane, what the heck is with your boy in Hillside? He's been invited.
Yo, the
But wait a minute,
Hillside chairman.
Diane, didn't we call it? Wait a minute.
Yes, we
Wait a
did.
minute. Wait a minute.
Yes, we did.
Look, guy, we called it, and then he called in on the show
And got married.
in his feelings
Mhm.
about the fact that I was posting some stuff without asking his permission. Now, full disclosure, Mr. Salters and I have done work together. He was Shavar Jeffrey's campaign manager, and I worked with side by side with him on that. Mr. Salters was under my dad's tutelage for a while, learning the ins and outs. Not these ins and outs, right? but legitimate ins and outs of politics. I was hired by Mr. Salters during some campaigns in Hillside, and he paid me for my services. So I just want to give full disclosure on that, right? And I want to say to you this. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm riding hard with you if you're doing the right thing. But I'm going to beat you over your head with a 2x4 when you step outside the line. The people who dislike me just want me to be dishonorable. They want me to cover up their bullshit. They want me to placate to their criminal activity. I'm not going to do that. I will never do that. Ever. But
Mute your phone, Vincent. No, not you, Vincent.
But
Mute
if
your
you're
phone.
on the side of the people, right? If you're on the side of the people and doing right by the people, I'm going to ride hard with you. I'm going to go in that dark alley with you, and we're going to throw blows until there are no more blows to throw. I'm that guy. But when I see, like Diane, and see, my family watches the show, so they're going to be mad at me because I'm bringing up her name again.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Linda
oh, God,
Brashear, but Linda Brashear,
Mhm.
right? Friend of the family's. She is my cousin's godmother. I've broken bread with Linda several times over the years. Decades, as a matter of fact. And when Linda was going to be carted off to the Hooskow, and I mentioned it on the show,
Oh, God.
my family called me. Like, Eric, you can't talk about that. It's in the damn Star Ledger. Eric, you can't talk about that. It's in all of the online newspapers. She took almost $1 million in kickbacks. But Eric, you can't talk about it. Why? See, there lies the problem in our community. See, I'm getting text messages already, Diane. I'm telling you. But here is what is the problem in our community. We have been taught to cover up who you're hiding drugs for, and you're hiding his gack, right? Right? Or, other kinds of...
Or that uncle that's been raping the kids every Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So we've been taught to do that. And we've been taught that we're not really down, that we're not really with family if we have high standards. But see, I've got high standards. I just do. And I'm not going to apologize for having high standards. So if you don't... Look, this is how you should roll with me. If you know that you're involved in illegal activity, don't be my friend.
Step away.
Yeah, just step away. Because when it comes out, I'm going to talk about you. Right? So you already know now. So there are no pretenses. And look, if ever they talk about me, my father told me, he said, son, if you ever get locked up, don't call. Don't call. He said, because I taught you better. He said, you have good home training. Use it. He also told a couple other things. He said, son, it is always better to be above suspicion than it is to be correct. Meaning that sometimes when you're walking on that line, right, you say, yeah, I can do this technically, right? But there may be some suspicion around it. So when the paddy wagon comes along, it scoops everybody up. Right? But if you're above suspicion, that means you know we're around it. Then the last thing he told me, he said, son, never have a conversation that you would not have if the Attorney General was not in the room. That's the big one. Because, and I'm going to tell you, I know some cats who are wearing wires now because they don't want to go to jail. And all the people around them have gone to jail. But they still are walking the streets. And Vincent, we know what they call that person. Sing it again, Sam. Right? So we know. And so one such person asked me one day, said, Eric, can I talk to you out in the hallway? No. And I told him, I said, because I said, look, I don't want to either find out that you have a wire or insult you by asking you if you have one. I believe you do. And that's enough for me. So no, you can't talk to me anytime in private. Whatever you have to say to me, if they're listening, then everybody should be listening. Let's all talk. Let's have a conversation. But anyway.
Eric, you know that on my campaign, I have my headsets, which I, when I talk to people, I let them know that I'm recording the conversation.
Oh, in New Jersey, well, in many states, you don't have to get, you don't have to tell them.
No, you don't. But I like to be above suspicion.
No, that's not suspicion. Look, you just wear a shirt that says, I record everything. They know. Like, you know how when you go into like a baseball game or a basketball stadium, there's a sign, right? What does it say? It says that these premises have, they are recorded. Everything. That you should not assume any privacy. That's what they say.
There you go.
So when you walk in there, they are recording every single thing. Yo, one last thing, and I know I'm going to, but years ago, I interviewed with Bloomberg, right, for a creative director position. And I came this close to getting it. And I really wanted that job. Like a lot of jobs I just kind of took because the money was really good and, But I really wanted that job. But this was the coolest. Talking to the lady. And I said to her, my name is, she said, I know who you are. I'm like, what? She already had a picture of me. When I walked up to the desk, did I know who you are? She said, step down there and get your picture ID. They had already printed a picture ID of me, not from the picture she had, because it was an older picture, but while I was talking to her, they took a picture of me. And it was sent down there and they had the ID ready. I go down, I get the ID. This is crazy, right? So I'm like, wow, this is really crazy. So I get the ID, and then the lady says, your concierge will meet you at the elevator. I go to the elevator opens, and it's a woman. She had a walkie-talkie. She said, Mr. Dawson, I'm here to take you to the 4th floor. This is all just happening. Like literally, I barely opened my mouth. And I'm on the elevator with a concierge on my way to the 4th floor. We get up to the 4th floor. Every office is glass. It's see-through. Right? You could see all of the meetings and everything that's taken place, right? And then as you walk, there are, I see, they're not really coat rooms, they're like little corridors. And they have blue light, and you see coats, you see bags, you see computers, and I'm just like, what's going on here? And then, they have, an open area where you can sit down, almost like in an airport, right? And so she said, you can sit here. Someone will be here to retrieve you. She said, by the way, while you're waiting, we have the personal chefs over there, so you can get a meal if you want while you wait, or you can go over here to the concessions and you can get chips and stuff. It's all free. So I said, oh, I could use something to drink. So I grabbed my computer and my computer here, my stuff. She goes, yeah, you could leave it all here. And then she pointed up at the ceiling. She said, everything is being watched. So people literally didn't have to, you could just leave your wallet on the table. And nobody's going to take it because everybody knows everything's being watched. It was crazy. So I went to the restroom, so I had to go through that corridor that I told you about. And literally, there were computers and there were all kinds of stuff. And you don't even think about touching it because you know that there's eyes in the sky. In the interview, and then so I asked them about the glass, and they said everything. That was, but you still didn't tell me about your boy in Hillside, Anthony Salters.
Well, you didn't give me an opportunity because you were just going on about. But anywho.
All right.
So
tell me about it.
I think he got distracted.
Okay, so Hillside's Democratic chairperson has been indicted for many different charges, and we talked about this some time before in regards to, and I'm just going to read off the various different charges. And he's been charged by several different entities, which makes it a little bit more complicated. So the U.S. Department of Justice has charged Anthony Salters last Tuesday, August the 18th, with one count of subscribing to false tax returns for 2013, 2 counts of subscribing to false tax returns, statements, and other documents of taxes for 2014 and 2015, 1 count of failing to file a tax return for 2016, 4 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of student aid fraud in connection with student financial aid obtained for his dependent child. They haven't set a date for arraignment. They also stated, based on that information, they stated that in his applications for tax returns, he stated that he had 0 income, even though he had income grossing over hundreds of thousands of dollars that he received through his business, where he's the principal Media LLC company, which is a public relations company, which he states that what he does is political connections or political advancements. On his page, you'll see how he's talked about what he's helped get in office in various different towns, whether it was Hillside Mayor Angela Garrison, he's worked with her, Tanya Hobbs as councilwoman to appoint her, Andrea Hyatt as council in Hillside, Don D. Augustine, council, Freeman, Patish Freeman as councilman, how he's appointed several people in the clerk's office, how he's had people fired in DPW and public Department of Public Works, how he's hired Anthony, what is his name? I'm sorry. How he had his son, Anthony Salters Jr., appointed to the school board. And we talked about that previously last year when a school board person stepped down and he had his son appointed, even though he had no experience. And Anthony Sr. came on, the one that's being charged now, came onto the show to state that his son had plenty of experience and there was no reason why his son could not be appointed on the school board. He's also, so therefore he's been defrauding the U.S. Department of Education, the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, as well as the university in which his son attended. Mm-hmm. So he has a litany of counts. He's facing up to $250,000 in fees. For some offenses, such as wire fraud, he's facing up to 20 years in jail. Student loan fraud, filling out that FAFSA form, and anybody who knows, when you fill out that FAFSA form and they require you to input your income, I don't recall them asking for a copy. Yeah, they do ask for a copy of your what do you call it, of your tax returns. But when you fill out that form, you also have to fill out the form as well as you have to have your child sign off on the form as well. So his son could potentially be also, Junior could be also facing charges as well. So there's a litany of things that's going on while he has been parading around and bringing havoc to the township of Hillside.
Well, I've heard of a daddy-daughter dance, but this is a daddy-son dance, huh?
Yeah, this is a mess.
Well, Junior make it plausible deniability.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Why?
It really doesn't matter whether he gets it or not. Who cares?
But
the fact is, he's been charged.
But Diane, but why would he get get plausible? Why do you think, Vincent or Diane, that he would get plausible? He signed it, right?
He signed it, but just because he signed it doesn't mean that he has express knowledge of his father's income or the fraud that his father's committing.
Well, if his father states that he didn't receive it, he received zero income, I'm pretty sure any child can say, well, my parent has to be receiving some money because they're paying for school, they buy him a car, they doing this, they doing that, they ain't living on the streets.
So then, let me. So then, here becomes my question: if you have to sign this document, so the son has to sign this document, what legal binding does he have to it? So, this idea of saying, well, you know what, I can hide behind the idea of plausible deniability.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to.
The same thing when the United States was going after Melda Marcos. For what did she have, like 5,000 pairs of shoes?
Right.
Well, does she have a child that she signed off on federal funds for?
Well, no. Well, Marcos
so
were getting. No.
Let's talk.
Marcos were getting federal. Marcos were getting.
Let's talk about something that's more relatable. So let's talk about the people in California that just paid to have their kids put into an institution. So they paid. Their child had nothing to do with the application, except for the fact that they applied to go to the school. They weren't held accountable. So, what are you saying?
Well,
and then on the other hand, on applications, even if a child signs off for a student loan, they are held responsible for that student loan repayment, not the parent. The application clearly says that.
True. Now, what I was saying the reason he would get it is because a lot of children say or understand or can say that, I don't know the intricate details of my family's financials. So whatever he did, I'm expecting it to be true. That's part of plausible deniability. That's why. Now, in terms of...
So I get you. So you're saying that that if my father is filling out this FAFSA form and he says that he's got an income of $20,000, I'm not required as his son to verify that before I sign the FAFSA form.
Correct. Just like some wives are not required to verify the income of their husbands. They just know that he gives them an allowance and they go shopping.
Okay, so let's go back to the Housewives of New Jersey when the wife signed off for fraudulent mortgage forms that she said she had no idea what they were, and they both went to jail. Her and the husband got deported.
Well, they proved that they proved in that case that she did have knowledge that it was fraudulent. The same thing with Irving Fryer. He signed off on some fraudulent mortgage forms on that his mother was making. He did from, and they truly don't know because they don't investigate or find out. That's fine. But under cross-examination, if they find it to be true, then they are guilty.
So you're saying so his son can claim plausible deniability, but if they find a text message where Anthony says to Junior, "Hey Junior, I'm putting this on your form so that we can get this money," then Junior is going up the river.
Correct.
Got it.
Because that falls under conspiracy.
I think that sounds good, Vincent, if it was one time. But we're talking about a free education that a student just received by stealing money from the federal government. So I think the plausibility clause is going to kind of throw it out the window. But his son hasn't been indicted. He has been indicted. So I'm sure a part of whatever deal that he needs to be cutting now is to keep Junior out of jail.
Yeah, and that's always a threat that they use to get you to take a plea. Well, we've got this person's signature on here. They can do X amount of time. So there are a lot of techniques that law enforcement will do to get you, to manipulate you to do what they want. But
I don't think there's manipulation in here. He is guilty of filing false tax returns. And when they prove that, because this isn't an investigation that just started today, this has been some ongoing stuff. And this is a ripple effect of the city of Orange's library problem.
You know what,
with
Diane?
the federal government and
Can you
funding.
pause there for a second? So
Go ahead.
we know how the feds work, right? The feds work. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric. I was going to talk about how the feds work too. Go ahead.
The feds work from the bottom up. So the person you see isn't always the person they're trying to get. So remember we were talking about wearing wires and all that kind of stuff, right? Person who's out on the street, who's not in jail, and right? Because that person is really like the bait, right? Because they're bigger fish that the feds are looking for. So, and you guys remember this, a few years ago, I broke it on a blog that I had, that the feds were coming to Orange, and they were going to raid Orange, and they were going to take out computers and things. And I camped out in front of the building, and I got the only photograph of the feds actually walking out of the building with boxes of stuff, and I posted it. They're looking for, and so far, the mayor, Dwayne Warren, has emerged unscathed from this, although all the people around him are being indicted and under suspicion and all this kind of stuff. Even his former BA, hit town for a little while, right? Willis Edwards, I think his name is, right?
Yep, as well as the former councilwoman who's now the Essex County freeholder.
That's Tashame Cooper, right?
Yep.
So all these people are people around. I want you to understand this. They're all around the mayor of Orange. And to date, the mayor of Orange doesn't have any stink on him yet. But I think the feds have been in this game long enough to know where there's smoke, there's fire. Right? So they're looking and they're like, well, we're gonna take this one, we're gonna take this one, and there were some other people I know. His name doing staring okay, but they were all wrapped up in some of this stuff, like the money from and then my man Shane formulated just so that it could take advantage of the contract and the work that he said he didn't do. Then there's another guy out of West Orange who was working with Social Security numbers, had like 15 or 16 Social Security. So all these people, they're all wrapped up in here. And so Dwayne, that he may be on a short list of people to run for county executive against Joe D, or maybe Joe D will step down if they can convince Dwayne to, not have a spine, right? But he wants to convince everybody he's smart enough to do all those things, but he's dumb because all the people around him were doing all this stuff.
Also stems from Patterson Housing Authority, where he claimed or he was paid for services there that he did not report on his tax returns, hundreds of thousands of dollars as well. So you have the Patterson mayor who was just locked up, last month, the month before last?
Am I correct? Dwayne Warren was doing work as a BA or something for Hillside. He was also functioning as the BA or something like that for Plainfield and maybe another town as well. And would that happen to have been Patterson? Was he doing work for Patterson?
That I don't know, but I know he was also a municipal court judge in a town as well. I'm not sure what town he's in.
Hey,
I'd have to go back and check.
This is crazy, isn't it? So you got a man over here who's doing work over there, and so you got this quid pro quo where you rub my back, I rub yours, you wash my hands, I wash yours, I'll give you a contract, you give me a job, you give me this, I'll get that for your family member. This is all people under him who are maneuvering in. I don't think the feds are buying that. And I think that what they're doing is, whether it's Tashame Cooper or whether it's Anthony Salters or other people, that they're looking and saying, how, like, this thing doesn't start and stop with Anthony, right? Or doesn't start and stop with Dawn, or start and stop with KC or Big Shane. That this thing moves higher up, and they want to go up that food chain, and they want to find out exactly how high it goes.
And so Anthony Salters also crosses over.
Diane, Vincent, Diane, back from these guys. There we go.
Oh, okay. So I said he also crossed over into the city of Newark, where he was involved with being paid for contracts with the housing authority that he also did not report as income. So thus far, the three towns that who's the missing link? Who is at the center of all of that? It's who, like you said, that's who they're looking for.
That's who they're looking
because
for.
they're always going to grab the low. That's low hanging. Anthony is low hanging fruit.
And then they grab them and they squeeze the testicles. And then, like Vincent said, they start to say, "Hey, listen, man, your son, your this, Anthony, this could be really bad for you, man. You know, come on, Anthony, how old are you? You too old."
When they were fishing, they brought in 2 boxes with my name on it and some files in it, as if they were watching me forever. And I said, you know what? That's a lot of information for a traffic ticket.
How does everything go back to you?
Well, because you have to keep it you. I mean, I was learned that, you know, in my recovery, or one of the abilities to reduce recidivism is be mindful of what happened to you and your actions.
Well, listen, I will tell you, you know, my family was involved in an infamous case back in 1980, 81, 82. Cost the county of Essex over $1 million. The trial lasted more than 6 months. We had some of the most high-powered attorneys. I think we had the dream team before OJ had the dream team. We had no, we did. We had Michael Critchley before Michael Critchley became Michael Critchley. We had when Michael Critchley had hair and was up and coming as an attorney, and his office was at 80, maybe the mayor of Orange, right? He passed away. And Raymond M. Brown. We had Mike Noonan, who's a judge somewhere down in Ocean County, or he was. But before that, he was what do you call him? The public defender. And Bookie Brown at that time was a public defender. So these guys were all up and coming, with the exception of Raymond A. Brown, who, you know, a famous civil rights attorney. And the county of Essex tried to railroad my entire family because of over a lie and an attempt to politically assassinate Mayor Kenneth Allen Gibson. And, you know, at that time, I don't know if I ever told you that story, Diane. I had just graduated high school, and I was facing 35 years. So
Yeah.
my uncle, who was the first black vice president of American Express, was facing 50 years, lost him. And I sat there in wonderment, which is why I have, in large part, the position that I have about this government. I watched them unearth vans that the county had, surveillance vans that witnesses that they were trying to coerce into testifying against us talked about being snatched up in these vans that had listening equipment, that had these antennas that were all of this stuff. They paid one guy who was the guy who was at the heart of this, who they got to file charges against us falsely. They gave him drugs and they gave him money. He was a drug addict. They gave him drugs and money and put him on a flight to North Carolina so he could be away from everybody, so that when it came time for him to testify, he was nowhere around. I mean, they did some devious stuff.
That Anthony saw.
I was reacting to Vincent. That's lightweight. That's lightweight stuff. They come at you And they bring
Absolutely.
everything. And I'm going to tell you, if it weren't for my family's goodwill in the community, right, to be able to bring in high guns, big guns like that, how time goes if you serve the whole 35 years or a portion of it. But I'd have served a significant amount of time.
35 wow.
Well, with all of that said, and the charges that are out there, that are public out there for anybody to read that is interested in reading it, or interested in following Anthony Salter's release his statement, and I'm going to read his statement because it's only fair to present both sides as it is for right now. And this is a direct statement from Anthony Salters. He states, the recent allegations made against me will be defended in court sometime in the middle of next year.
That's a statement? Diane?
Yes.
Okay, you went out again.
We all are innocent until proven guilty, including me. In the meantime, we will not allow these allegations made against me to detract from the important work of our elected officials and dedicated community servants in Hillside. As demonstrated in the past, so many times personal attacks against me will hit leaders and community servants in Hillside. This including fighting to keep our property taxes from rising, improving our school system, and making sure Hillside receives all financial support we can from the county, state, and federal government during this pandemic. Yeah. We will continue to, I remain focused. This is a collective group effort and labor of love of Hillside. To the overful people, no doubt, upon the advice of my attorney, I will not make any additional public statements regarding the legal situation until it reaches a definitive conclusion. God bless you and your family in Hillside.
Wow.
So, there you go.
Okay.
That's the happenings of Union County and Hillside, New Jersey. So while that's happening, all of the minions are scattering, or roaches are scattering throughout Hillside, trying to figure out how to take away his position, dethrone him of the chairship, and who is going to take his seat. So the word on the street is, of course, Angela Garrettson, who is the Union County freeholder, is also a district leader, and she'll be vying for the seat. They have revived some people from the dead. Salonia Saxton, who lost against the last election, mayoral election, is said to also be vying for the seat, as well as some of Anthony's minions.
Okay.
So while everything else happens, the beat goes on. So we'll see. Like everything else, we'll see. But usually I can say, based on experience, on watching this happen in the county, throughout the state of New Jersey,
that he's faced with, they're not that huge, but they do have a big penalty, so there's a level of wiggle room in it.
Oh, absolutely. I personally, and why he has just happens to be an easier catch.
Paula, go.
Yeah. How far will we see doing an election in Patterson because of the vote by mail debacle? And vote by mail does have its correct place. We see the issue in Hudson, in Union County with this Salters issue, and we'll see how that comes out. I'm not taking a side in it, but there's more pieces to all of this stuff. And then at the end, I think about my mother. She's a Democrat. She's been voting Democrat for 40 years. I think this all puts those good-hearted black Democrats in a bad spot, because these have been hard-working people. So for some of the people who have left the Democrat Party, it's because of the things that we're going to see exposed. We're seeing some of that exposed now, but we'll see more of it exposed probably after Labor Day, all the way up until the election.
Shay, I think that's a good point that you made, because with that, there has been a lot of discussion, and it goes back to what we're in right now, getting ready for this presidential election in November. Many Democrats are very despondent and rebelling and turning against the Democratic Party, but you have emotionalized into how you should be voting, as opposed to what you see on your local level. There was a conversation on my page just this morning, and she's telling people, don't watch the Republican RNC this week. Don't watch it. You shouldn't watch it. And my statement to her was, is this not the same thing that media did to Bernie Sanders when he was running against Clinton? They didn't give him the media coverage and then they pushed somebody else in front of you, Clinton, that people turned out and decided they were not going to vote for them? Like, at what point as Democrats, or at what point as people, do we start calling out for what it is and being honest about the mistakes that we're making and fixing them, as opposed to continuing to cover it up? So I think there's going to be continuous cities throughout the state that will have these upturns. I mean, we've seen it in Trenton when the mayor was dragged out. You've just seen it recently in Patterson. There has not been a county that has not been touched by corruption. Atlantic City is at the beginning of the political nonsense in the Democratic Party. You go across over to Salem County. There has not been a county that has not been touched by Democrats. Well, how do we keep supporting people who we know blatantly are trying to destroy our people?
Well,
and not just black people, but the state.
You know, get good candidates in is because of these bad actors. And Diane, part of that bad actor staying in power is because they keep the message, and the party is support them, support. And you, I mean, you're both right, especially behind the simple fact that this puts a negative effect on the Democratic Party that makes all those Republicans who are bad actors, you know, really go after them. And it stifles the community.
So here's the deal. When you say that all of these people support them, when you look at the amount of voter apathy that exists in the Democratic Party, it may still be declared Democrats, right? And people were shocked when Obama ran, and you saw all these people who never come out and vote in New Jersey. They came out in droves and voted. We had lines for days, for hours at least, as people were trying to vote. So they exist. They just don't give a damn about the Democratic Party in New Jersey by large measure. And the ones who do, most of them are people who are employed or their family members are employed. I mean, I'm telling you, so they've all walked away, Shay. And they're going to continue to walk away.
The bulk of the supporters for these bad actors aren't voting or supporting them because of their policies. They're supporting them because of their salary.
That's absolutely right. Or their grandson's salary, or their uncle's salary, their husband's salary. That's
right.
And Vincent, that's the concern, because as I was having this intergenerational discussion with my mother, it seems like Biden is advertising to that black baby boomer population, where at the end of the conversation with my mom, who's in even their children who are in their 30s, and there are not enough candidates even under 60 years old who they can vote for.
True.
So
Che, we'll see how it comes out.
Think about it, Che. Biden is almost 82 years old. Think about our relatives that are in their 80s. How many of them really relate on the lines with somebody in their 30s or their 40s to understand how they feel and how they even live their life? You see what I'm saying? So he has a disconnect with people that he's not even related to. So yeah, he may relate to somebody in his family, but other people, he's not relating to them. And these diehard Democrats, these baby boomers, are trying to force us to jump on board. And we're like, no, we're trying to stop the fight, and you want us to jump on board.
Well, the Biden's campaign is pandering towards all those men diligently and faithfully get out and vote. So his topic to address their issue is the tax situation and the Medicare situation, which hugely affects them. He's pandering towards the Black Lives Matter or the baby boomers from the 9/11 attack who are out there protesting for Black Lives Matter and equality. So he's addressing their issues of free tuition, justice, eliminating qualified immunity with the police,
please,
let me finish. Diane, please.
This is going to be a whole longer.
It's not.
What you're saying is,
Diane, please let me finish.
No, I'm not.
Please.
The things that you are saying are the things that other people say. Biden has said none of these things. That's the problem. He spoke to nothing. You had a whole week of people saying he's a nice guy. He has empathy. He's great. He's personable. I met him on the elevator. I did this. Come on, it's BS, Vincent.
It's not, and he has. What he has not done was go on the air and give great detail of it. But looking at his website, he has addressed those issues.
And
So you're
that's
telling
what
me,
that's.
and I'm going to tell you the same thing that CNN reporter said. CNN, I said it, but the CNN reporter said it. So I have you on prime time when people are home to listen to what you have to say, and you pushing us to a website?
Yes. Why? And Van Jones even addressed it on CNN. The problem that they had with the Hillary campaign is that Hillary, when she had her issues, so they said, okay, let's give people a bite and let them do the research for themselves, because the people that he's pandering to are not looking and taking things as a headline issue that are having a lot of the confusion. And this show promotes and push people to look deep at the candidates and the issues before making a decision.
Yep, I think that too. And I have to go. You're right, Vincent. The show helps people to think. I just wrapping up as I leave. And correct me if I'm wrong, Diane. I really see, however this goes, whether they remove Trump by the ballot or if Biden becomes president, however it turns, I think after they also get involved with the process than we've ever seen. Now, I'm a black male, but I know that there's talented females who are going to want their voice heard however this goes, because there's just too many demographics that they're trying to advertise to with a tough sell within 100 days.
Yeah.
So thank you, Vincent. I've been studying matchups since 3rd grade. I could be wrong, but I think the Democrats have a
Caller? Yep, hold on, let's see. Caller, go. Well, look, guys, the Biden people who just government anymore, and they don't think things are going to change. So that whole Obama hope and change and then believe, I think that's kind of worn out with people. What do you think, Diane?
People are not buying. I think people are stuck, being angry about being forced.
Here, let me try to take
vote
this
for
one more
somebody.
time. Diane, let me try to take this call one more time. They keep calling.
Okay.
Hello, caller?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, hold on for a second. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep, got you. Go ahead.
Okay. This question is sort of for Vince and what you just said about people who are going to be intrigued enough to go to their website to look it up. Is that what you're saying? You're saying that I'll go to your website and look at it? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this, that the American attention span has gotten short of policy. Now, research, check out, and fact check everything that's being said. Those are the people that are going to the website. Now, we still have... No, please, let me finish. And in terms of what they were saying about emotionalizing this, it has now shaped into two categories for Democrats. You're either voting for Biden or voting against Trump. But it should be, though, right? You're right. It shouldn't be voting against Trump. You're absolutely right. It's not what it should be, but it is what...
Bright young man who helps me out in the bakery in the morning. And we were talking about this, and but people are not, well, on this vote their interest, have so much enthusiasm because people are connected because they're voting their interest. We don't agree with their interest, right? Their interest is lies, Black American. We're clear on that, but that is their interest, and they're motivated to protect their interests. Over here, the lack of motivation is Donald Trump's not my interest. Biden's not my interest. My interest is getting out of this ditch, and nobody has told me how I'm going to get out. And so because they haven't done that, I've tuned out. And I think there lies the issue, and Bernie Sanders said it. He said, listen, I have the most enthusiastic campaign going because people were focused on their interests, right? Their interests. And now, wait a minute. And now Biden,
I'm sorry.
What Biden's trying to do, and I think he's going to be unsuccessful in it, is he's trying to cloak himself in everybody else's policies, right? He's trying to take some of Elizabeth Warren's stuff, and he thinks that, you know, it's just going to stick to him, and those people are going to come over. And he's going to try to take some of Bernie stuff, try to take some of AOC stuff. He's trying to mix it all up in hopes that all these people are going to come gravitate to it, and that's not going to happen. Because it's not. We know why? Because there's no authenticity.
You are absolutely correct. And
wait, say it again?
You are absolutely correct. And that is what he has done. He has taken the best features of all of these candidates and put them into his campaign. And it has some level of success. And also he has taken on one of the other biggest issues of blacks getting into the party, into the race, and taking a stance where they were not. The biggest, and they've even focused on the biggest demographics of people are the non-voters. So the objective is to get those people's interests, take a look at their interests, and address them. And he has merged that.
But here again is the lack of authenticity, right? And I think that I just got to believe that voters have gotten smarter, right? For a number of reasons. They could have pulled this, like prior to, please mute your phone, whoever it is, pull over a lot of people's eyes. But people now have these phones, right, that have more power than the spacecraft that took than existed on Apollo 13. And they can do some research. So this whole idea of whether you have Steve Kornacki, who's trying to drive a narrative like he did in 2015, right? That said Hillary Clinton was winning, right? When she wound up losing, and then they all stood there with egg on their face. Happening. So this notion that he can simply poll, right? So that's what he's doing. They're polling a group of people. They're in a think tank. And they're writing documents and putting them up there. And he's going, hey, I stand for that. See, Biden stands for anything. If people are willing to fall on the other side. That Biden will stand for anything. The question is whether you're willing to fall for it. But right now...
So
go ahead.
So, Eric, does that mean that we, instead of looking at what Biden is saying today, we should just look at his 40 or 50-year professional history at it?
Well, isn't that what we do when we interview people for jobs? If you were...
I'm being rhetorical.
Well, no,
just for the record.
I've been interviewing somebody, and this person did this for their entire career. And they're telling you right here and now that they're going to do something else. Are you going to believe what they say they're going to do? Or are you going to believe what they have done? And what I'm saying is that the majority of people are not stupid. And they look and go, wait a minute. This guy, he didn't care about us then. He didn't care about Black Lives Matter and then. Chuck Schumer didn't care about Black Lives Matter and then. Nancy Pelosi didn't care about Black Lives Matter and then. All these people didn't care about it. But now because it's fashionable, right? It's fashionable. And it has the potential of getting us elected or reelected. We're going to cloak ourselves in it. And I just think, I swear to you, man. And people ask me, say, Eric, are you pro-Trump? No, I'm not. I am pro-Black American. That's what I am. And I am fighting to make sure that black people, for once, value their vote. For once. And I'm saying, vote away again. Don't do it. Don't do it.
But hey, Eric, I think that's the whole point, right, of what Biden is doing. Black people aren't giving their vote anymore. So they're trying to pander to them to get it.
No,
so they're trying to figure out, it worked for our grandparents, right, and maybe for some of this generation's parents. But it's not working for this demographic. Today's youth is not going to go. You're not going. They want to show and prove.
Look.
And Eric was correct, and they look at all the bad stuff, they're going to counter with okay, I spearheaded the best economic stimulus package. He spearheaded and went for the American Universal Health Care Act. He championed under the Clinton administration. So I mean, so he's got some good counterpoints.
Well, forget about counterpoints for a second, right? Let's just talk about this, because I want you have to understand the nuances between the two, right? You can have, it's only a benefit if it serves me, right? So if I gave my mother a Ferrari right now and say, hey, Ma, the car goes from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, that's not a benefit to her, right? Because she sees no value in that. Now, if I said to Farrakhan, hey, the car goes, hey, that's a benefit to him. So features and benefits, it's a feature of the car that it goes from 0 to 60. Who does it benefit is different. So when you say, oh, the benefit of this. So when you're talking about Biden and all the things that you just mentioned, if we want to take it at face value, right, without arguing any of those points and say what you said is all true, it's a feature of his time in office, right? The question is who did benefit. And so if you're telling me about this feature, but I can't see how it benefited me, then it's like my mother looking at this Ferrari and not giving a damn that it goes from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds flat. She didn't care. I don't care how big you put it on a billboard. She wouldn't care about it.
Well, if we look at features and benefits, and because the features or expressing or highlighting the features is basically talking to the people that it benefits. There are a great deal of people millions of people who finally got Medicare.
But there are a lot who didn't.
Well,
Wait a
no,
minute.
please, please, no, please, because you guys always cut me off. And I'm the only one today being polite with this. And there are benefits for people of my personality that upsets a great deal of people.
Okay.
So there are benefits of people who got universal health care, and he's pandering to them. There are benefits of people who got some sort of relief from the economic stimulus, and that's who he's pandering to. So that feature is actually focused on hitting the mindsets of people who...
When you identify this thing as a feature and then want to sell it as a benefit, whether or not there's a large enough swath of people who actually see it as a benefit. Right? That's it. Because I'll tell you, because it didn't work. It was too expensive, and what I got for it was crappy. So
so none of those on his highlight
point that you were making. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is the whole part of the actual campaign. It is and then you have to look at another highlight. Those things in which he had stood for, the person he's running against has not. That's the key issue. Placing an apple against an apple.
Well, actually, it's placing an apple against an orange man, but... I'm sorry, I couldn't help Vincent, it was almost like you pitched that one right over the plate, man. I had to hit it.
I did pitch that one, but the approval rating, well, first of all, two things that happened that has dropped Trump's approval rating. One, Steve Bannon just drive up, get the Coast Guard to get him on his, what was it, a $40 million mega yacht?
Uh-huh.
Yes, they had hundreds of millions of dollars from the Build the Wall campaign and the Make America Great campaign that they didn't even do this, watching them since this actually started. $3 billion that they got to build this wall, which basically they only did somewhere close to 200 feet. And Sarah Palin got on Tucker Carlson's show and basically called Kamala a hoe. And then they even started selling shirts on Amazon. So a lot of people who were against, a lot of black people who were not for Vice President candidate Harris have now started to give her a little more support.
So here's the interesting thing, right? So if you say, so this is again emotionalism, right? So it's not I'm giving her support because her policies are aligned with what's in my best interest, right? It has nothing to do with that. By your own admission, it simply has to do with some people who are caught up in their feelings because she got called some names. And if we're making decisions, and I'm telling you, black people, if you're making decisions based on that, Trump's an idiot. Bannon is an idiot and a racist and all the other things you want to call him. All of them are that, right? And they got baited into doing some things. And what did we talk about earlier at the beginning of the show? And feed your focus. What does that do in poor communities? What does it do to do any of those feeling some sort of way? So now I'm going to go vote for her. Even though she may not be promoting policy focus. Economic and political power is the only thing. Not stopping Trump. None of that. If it's not on the bargaining table, that there are tangibles.
Eric, you said the key word. The key word. She may not be. And a lot of people are saying, well, she may be the person to bring that. That's the key word.
Yeah. You know what? But then and not because she was called a hoe, or not. You said that for all intents and purposes she was called a hoe, right? So so now because Sarah Palin has some choice words for her, we'll leave it there, and because Steve Bannon got arrested, right, and because some other stuff happened, not that there was a shift in policy, not because all of a sudden the light at the end of the tunnel for black Americans was actually light at the end of the tunnel and not a train coming on toward them, right? Not because of things like that, not because America finally her, because somebody called her a name.
No, he shifted to
That's
her.
What you said.
Palin said was Tucker Carlson asked her, do you think you would have won if you got the popularity and motivation that Kamala Harris is getting? She said, well, I would never prostitute myself like she does. So that is, a lot of people knew the policy and of what the Biden campaign is bringing. What the emotionalism did was got them off of the fence and onto her side. Because I'm going to tell you this. If someone publicly called my mother a hoe or my sister...
Words. Right now. Mm-hmm. Well, firstly, I think that it's crazy that you're putting your emotional feelings toward Kamala Harris on the same level as those toward your mother, right? So I'm not feeling like that toward her. But Kamala Harris, if I saw a man berating her, right, I would jump to her defense. Doesn't mean that I go vote for her, though. Right? I would jump for her because of the melanin in her skin. And say, yeah, I'll even go further. And say, if it was a white guy doing it, right, I might even feel deeper in my feelings. Got all of that. Does not mean that I would vote. Right? I'd still talk to her about the issues that I have for her and why I'm not going to vote for her. But I wish her a good day. Because of this emotional thing that occurs, because somebody called her a name, right? Somebody did something to her. Now I jumped off the fence, and all of a sudden, I want to put her a heartbeat away from being a president of the United States. Not gonna happen.
Well, that part is true, and it's how you feel and actually how you intellectualize. But there are others who feel like, okay, I wasn't that happy about her for whatever reason is, but and I want to keep this black. We have we can call her all those kinds of names, but no. Nobody else is allowed to.
Right.
It's just like the N word. We could say the N word, but don't let no white person do it.
Right. No,
that's
what I'm saying. I could understand that emotional piece, right? I mean, I'm human, and so I understand the emotional piece, but I don't understand the leap that says all of a sudden that now qualifies you to be vice president of the United States because somebody called you a whore. or alluded to the fact that you might be a whore, or at the very least, right, engaged in some microaggressions, right, was in her white privilege, right, and felt that she could do that. That's all it says. And yeah, Sarah Palin needs to be checked. Got it.
And right. And some people were saying, well, I'm in my black resentment to prove to you, to give this woman an opportunity to prove herself because of your white privilege.
Well, see, there again, so you just made my point again, Vincent. So here to me is the issue, right? So the distraction, though it is a real distraction, is the white privilege of Sarah Palin, right? That is it. But feeding that distraction, right, doesn't allow us to stay focused on what our best interests are. So now we become focused on Kamala Harris. Not our best interests. See how they function, how they move around, man, how they just they're brilliant. And like we always say, man,
MMA fight.
What form of martial arts?
Muay Thai, Taekwondo, and Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh wow.
So when I
gotta stop. See, now you know how I get distracted, Vincent.
Eric, you're distracted.
So put a bookmark in that for a second. So Vincent, you were actually in the octagon?
Yes.
Holy shit! You're a badass.
Well, it used to be. I'm 58 now. Those days are over. but before I went in there was always somebody that the opponent went in there to say. What I did was emotionalize it to the point of, okay, I will show you in the ring, and that's what they're doing right now.
That's different. And you harness. So no, I understand what you did. You harnessed that energy, right? And you became laser focused, So what I'm saying is this: use that same analogy. Yes, we should understand that white supremacy exists. We should understand that white privilege exists. We should understand that black Americans have been marginalized since we were brought here and enslaved. We should understand all of that. And then we should become laser focused on defeat, going to destroy the corporation white supremacy. It's not going to tear down the structure, right? This government that is built on structural racism and oppression. It's not going to do that. And so I agree with you. We need to become laser focused. We need to be, like Baldwin said, in a constant state of rage, but not rage. Not unfocused rage, but rage such that we become laser focused on our condition, our circumstance, our predicament, if you will. Our you did there. We'll be missing everything. Hold on.
And good morning, Eric. Eric, I have a question for you.
What's up, Jody Pittman?
Jody!
Try to not call again. It just won't happen for me. Eric.
Yes, babe.
Do you think that Donald Trump is a part of the corporation of white supremacy?
I think he is a product of. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a product of. Yes, he is a manifestation of. Right, but you know what, Jody? I'll give you this example, Jody. I got weed. Well, I got weeds in my backyard, right? And they're destroying my bamboo. I put up a bamboo fence, and so the weeds are growing. One or two things. I could go to where I can see the weed and cut that, right? But what's gonna happen? It's gonna grow again, right? Or I can go to the root and I can cut the root, right, and get rid of it. And what I'm saying is, everybody keeps saying, which we do from time to time, that we go and prune this weed. But it just continues to grow. And it grows amid to all of the things that you say are horrible about Donald Trump. All of them. All of them. Every single one of them. How does getting rid of him? Because that is their single focus. That is that they're trying to get black Americans single focus on getting rid of him. After we do that, tell me we wake up tomorrow and the racial wealth gap has lessened. Tell me the racial income gap has lessened. Tell me that the black babies are in better schools. Tell me all.
Where you think that Trump is a manifestation,
And I think Biden is too. But I think Biden is too.
And you think, okay.
I think that
Okay,
so I think they're cut from the same cloth. Here's the difference between the two, right? One is a straight up gangster. The other one, didn't give a damn about black people, not a damn. Now Trump came in straight gangster. He said, you know what? No pretenses here. F all about how Biden did it. But in the end, black folks are still where black folks are, and they both did it. That's where I am, Jody. So I get it.
Okay.
I'm just going, that dude is more ruthless. But at the end, they both want us dead.
So here's my issue, right? Because first of all, right, when Sarah Palin was on the ticket for vice president, right? She said that she could look out a window in Alaska and see fucking Alaska.
Right.
Right? So not emotional, right? Dummies don't get to make those quantifications against no one. Not let known that be a black woman, right? If you thought that you saw Russia from your Alaskan window, you don't have an opinion in my world. You don't get to rampage or use the word prostitute in any vice president. Okay. So when you say that's emotional, that's not emotional for me. To me, that response is not emotional. And even to go as far as Vincent went, so let's put it in there. Honestly, that's my interest. Because that corporation of white supremacy has just like congealed into a fortress, it feels like. It's not that Donald Trump is any different, right? And I keep the Democratic Party, right? I don't know if anybody like pays attention. That she's had in 50 years, this country for 32 of those 50 years have been run by Republicans, right? It was Nixon, then Gerald Ford, then Reagan, then Bush son, then Bush father, who was on 4 years, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton. Or it could be poor-ass excuses, but you can't, when doing messaging, that messaging is not fact and data driven. Right?
Well, that's not true. That's not true. So I'll tell you what, right? So I think
Jody.
Wait, but Jody, wait a minute.
Jody.
Wait. Before you go, Farrakhan. So Jody, listen. I could show up at a Cleveland Browns game every day of the season, right? And say I'm a loyal fan. Doesn't mean they're gonna win, but I'm still a loyal fan. It necessarily represents a victory for Democrats all the time. It just means that when they do win,
If somebody mute your phone, I can't hear Eric. I hear breathing.
it means that when they do win, it is because of Jody.
So that is a fact, right? Because I'm gonna just spew my stuff, and if that guy get it back, right? It is not emotional. It is driven. When someone can say to me, several times on your show, I've heard the words about since Kamala Harris, that's going to push out black men from serving. We've seen in our communities, going back to that local, right, where black men tore it up to a level of discontent throughout the hood, right? It is failing. When someone says to me, I'm being emotional because a black woman is elected. Black woman, yeah, as a black woman, right? Can't nobody. Someone said last night on a video, I've had black women, I have a black wife and black daughters and black this, ready. I'm a black woman. So you can't speak because you got a woman in your life, right? Because we have, that's our circumstance. We have not been allowed, not by just the corporation of white supremacy, right? And kindly, that's why Sarah Palin feels the privilege enough to get up and use the word prostitute in relation to a black woman. That is just the way it is, right? But don't tell me I'm being emotional. I'm being focused and driven
on what is my interest. So yeah, it's about time. If both of those candidates, as you said, are manifestation of white supremacy, right? And there's a trickle of a black woman in the stack there, let's get it there. Because that's something we, as black women, haven't seen. I don't care how my father feels. I don't care how my brother feels. I don't care how my lover feels. I care as a black woman that we've been banished on both sides of that state. Period. White men have made it apparent that they don't want us in power. Period. And white women in power. Listen, Kamala Harris, for all intents and purposes, is qualified to be the vice president of the United States. Damn, if Trump is the president, my 13-year-old is qualified to be the president at this juncture, right? She has a better vocabulary. She has a better historical context. She's smarter. She's savvier. Yeah, that's just the reality. So I just wanted to put context to this overwhelming theory of, for 50 years, black folks have chosen the Democratic Party, and it has got us nowhere. Well, if they were only in power for 20, I want to know about those 30. That is not emotional. That's just smart.
Got it. Go ahead, Farrakhan.
See, now, there was so much stuff there. I'm going to try and backtrack it to the beginning, right? Because it's just too much. Now, first and foremost, Vincent made a statement of this country's upstanding to help black people and so forth.
No. I said that Joe but because you're misquoting your stimulus package.
Okay, leave it right
Trump
there.
has the largest stimulus package.
Leave it right there. Leave it right there. It was stimulus package necessary. And
was George Herbert Walker Bush.
Okay, how? Now, this is what let me respond to that statement. Now, if the banking the banking regulations that were in place prior to George Bush being president were deregulated by Bill Clinton, and those are the banking regulations that changed it and allowed for the subprime mortgages that came into, I guess, fruition, whatever you want to call it, during the Bush years. But the actual changing of the legal policy for the banks to do what they did, to give those mortgages out, came from Bill Clinton and his reporter, not George Bush. What happened during George Bush? That's right. George Bush was in office for 8 years, right? How do we always, when it's a Democrat, although, and I'm gonna say it again, I am the right. Did you notice that Pence didn't say anything because he knows I'm correct? You're jumping in when you obviously
No, Vincent didn't say anything because you don't get Vincent didn't say anything because you don't give Vincent an opportunity to answer your question. I will, but please let me talk.
Say that to Joey, not me.
So Vincent, you're talking. So wait, guys. Go ahead, Vincent. Answer the question.
Now, he talked about Bill Clinton. No. The deregulation of the banking industry came the same hands of the deregulation of the airline industry, which was by Ronald Wilson Reagan. Now, Bill Clinton, once he got into office, did not change it. Bill Clinton, therefore, focused on building economy through small businesses and the internet. Now, George Herbert Walker Bush Jr. got in there and then started to increase the regulation, which led into predatory lending, causing the fall of subprime mortgages and the fall of the banking industry.
Happening in 1999. He wasn't even the president. Yes. So then who did it? Who was the one? No. Subprime has been part of the problem. Joe Biden has been part of the problem that has kept black people at the bottom of the record. There's no other way to say it.
Farrakhan.
Now you say whatever you want, you to that position. Now, if you want to vote for him, that Farrakhan man is going to do something different.
Farrakhan, you want to place...
In God's sake, Dodd-Frank was done by Bill Clinton.
Farrakhan, if you want to go, Farrakhan, if you want to live off the propaganda, Farrakhan, if you want to live off the propaganda, if you want to live off the propaganda, it's noise.
Well, wait. But we have to, right. So whether we disagree or agree, we got to understand that the conversation that we're having, we have to, give fair time for folks to state their point.
Now, of all the ills of America, then
he's saying is that you're not laying any blame at the feet of Joe Biden. See, so that's where we are. So the question is, I think, and I don't want to, Farrakhan's on the phone, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's asking, well, just let's look at this and let's see what culpability Joe Biden had in it.
Senator, as the rest of the senators, it passed. It got through. Was he the sole responsible person of it? Was he the champion of it? No, he wasn't.
But okay,
now,
so I heard what you said doing it. So the question that I guess is a fair question is, should that be a part of has the best interests of black folk at heart? Like not now, not in terms of him wanting to, throw on a daishiki and some kente cloth and a kufi at the same time, but whether or not for the last few decades, he was willing to lean into these hard issues to help pry the knee of America off the neck of black Americans.
Well, you know what, Eric? Honestly, I can't speak for Vincent, right? But so my being so engaged now is not. Can you hear me now?
Much better. Thank you.
So my engagement here on the show, as of late, isn't in defense of Joe Biden, right? And they just when he's saying Joe Biden is the bad guy. Joe Biden is the bad guy, right? He's running against the orange dude. He's not running against anyone else, right? And you fail, because that's what's happening. You fail to mention, you keep saying, and I'm not talking about you, but you keep saying, Trump, Trump's not the issue, but Joe Biden is the issue, because black people are part of the Democratic Party, but Trump's the Republican. So then you're not attacking the Republican Party. The action is this. We're going to leave the Republican Party at that. We're going to act like, they're not a part of they're not trying to get our vote. I hear that all the time, right? So they're not trying to get our vote. So this should be someone else. He's not the problem. But he is.
I don't think, it's easy. Right, but I think, right, you're talking about the proverbial you. So I got it. But what I'm saying to you is this, and I'm taking the same page out of Dr. Eddie Glaude's book where he says, look, we can have all the conversations we want to have about the Republican Party. And I'll agree with you on probably 98% of those things. Right? That's easy to have that conversation. The abusive relationship that they have been in for decades with a political party. See, so when we have the conversation, we talk about Stockholm Syndrome. There's an abuser and that you're being abused. And then developing a plan, right, to remove yourself. And then changing people, places, and things to stay safe. So all of that is required. That is difficult. The easy part, because we're not associated with the Republican Party, right? We don't have an affection, we don't have a dysfunctional affection for the Republican Party. So it's easy for us to go, they're bad guys. They're bad guys. Much like the person who's in a home with an abusive husband or an abusive wife, right? You can look down the street and go, man, their life is fucked up down the street. But it's harder to look and say your life is fucked. That's all I'm saying. So having these conversations, as soon as we start talking about Democrats, it's going to be a problem because we're emotionally attached to them in a very, very dysfunctional way.
Conversation about the Republican Party.
We don't need to. We know who they are. We know.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I think that, I think we can have a 2-minute conversation about where we can't come to a consensus is that black Americans are in a dysfunctional, abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. We will never come to a consensus there, and there lies the black dilemma.
So if someone is this with the Democratic Party, right? It's for how many ever centuries, right? But today, where are we? And today, what is our choice in that? And today, what we have is in this election, in this state, in this time, what do we have, right? Because we're not going to fix it if Donald Trump wins. We're not going to fix it if Joe Biden wins. But we have this, before I go, right? Because there's also a messaging out there, right, that Martin Luther King railed on the Democratic Party, right? So this is where I stand. I'm a fan with Martin Luther King. So this is a letter Martin Luther King, and it was so short and so sweet, wrote to someone asking about his position relative, and I'm quoting, to the Negro people voting for different in my political position. Actually, I am not taking any public position in this election. In private opinion, I find something to be desired from both parties. The Negro has been betrayed by both the Democratic and the Republican Party. The Democrats have betrayed us by capitulating the whims and caprices of the Southern 60 class. The Republicans have betrayed us by capitulating to the blatant hypocrisy of the conservative right-wing forces. This coalition of Southern 60 class and right-wing Northern Republicans defeat every move for liberal legislation in Congress. So we confront the problem of choosing the lesser of two evils. At this point, I might say, however, that I feel that the Negro must remain an independent with the welfare of all people. Period. That's where we are.
Jody, can I say this really quick? First and foremost, I want to say this. Jody, I love you. That the Democratic Party that got a the Democratic Party.
Just switch. Why did you just switch from what Jody was just talking about? She wasn't talking about COVID-19.
No.
Talking
But
about
I want to stay on COVID.
What you just said, Jody, if you're going to vote for me, why are you not over here with me at the Green Party, at an independent party? See, that's what he said. But we still rolling with the Democrats. I don't understand that. Now, Eric, take it back.
So here's what I want to say about if world and we feel it over here, right? So if you want to look at COVID-19, let's take it all the way back to this. Because everybody says, well, if Hillary Clinton was president, we wouldn't have this issue, right? Well, we knew Hillary Clinton was going to be president, but the hubris of the Democratic Party and the nature of the abusive relationship they have with black people, they believe they can get black people herded to the polls to get Hillary Clinton. So I'm saying that it is that abusive relationship that led to Donald Trump. So when you want to talk about COVID-19, let's talk about the culpability that the Democratic Party had, right, in doing what they did and putting up a candidate of the Democratic Party for doing what they did, and then blame it on the voter for not voting for a piece of shit. You can't do that. So now let's put it on the abusive Democratic Party. And so now if we're going to say, well, COVID-19, and if this had been, then let's talk about who could have made those changes. But they chose understanding, and they understood the underbelly, the ugliness of this country. They knew it. They knew it. They know. You don't think that they knew all of what we see now? You think this is their first inkling of understanding how ugly and how racist this country is? They didn't care. Black lives didn't matter to them then, and it doesn't matter to them now. Did this. And Donald Trump wound up here because some people didn't vote for him. No, they sat in rooms and they orchestrated this. And they rolled the dice believing that they had abused black people enough that they'd go and vote for Hillary Clinton.
No one, I don't think anyone talked about giving or not mentioning the culpability of the Democratic Party for our present situation. The fact that we did not like Hillary, so we did not come out to vote. The whole
We
issue.
abhorred her. No, don't say we didn't like her.
Please.
We abhorred her. Say those words.
Eric, no, not we abhorred her. Eric abhorred her. Now, a lot of people just didn't
1.4
like
million.
her. With you, but for right now, what I'm saying is this: no one is saying any of those things or those statements that you've made. What we are saying is this: ship.
And put in
That's
an
the whole
abuser.
point.
And put an abuser in. Somebody who's abused us for 40 years. False choice. Get rid of that guy. Bring the abuser in. Right? And guess what? He doesn't have to tell us he's doing a goddamn thing for me. Understand that? See, he's not going to do anything to close the racial wealth gap, to close the income gap, to make sure that these black babies have better school. He ain't going to do any of that.
Well, that is based upon your
why?
opinion.
Because no,
That's
why?
Not based upon what?
No,
that's
why?
Eric, that's
You know
not
why
a
it's
statement.
not good? I am an insider, Vincent. They have concluded that we have bought into the Stop Trump train. And so nothing else is more important, not even our life.
And they started to stop Trump when Menendez was running for election. Even with everything he was charged with doing by the federal government.
That's right. Look at the people who've gotten
I
elected.
want to say, Jody, please understand that as a man, I do not want to not see black women in powerful positions. I would love to see that. But what we're getting today from the Democratic Party is a division between men and women, particularly black men and black women. But they are giving us, they are putting a black woman in a position so that they don't have to put a black man in that position, which is causing opposition between our two. We need to be sort of recognize that and see that for a complete
Right.
Thank you so much for your opinions and for this vibrant conversation. It's 12 o'clock. It's time to go.
Don't let you, Vincent. Come on, Vincent.
Tune in.
No. Okay.
Vincent?
Look, that's the fuel for such passionate conversations during the days. I am very encouraged by what has been said by everybody and what has been shared and viewed. I'm Vincent Squire on behalf of Eric Dawson and Diane, the queen of morning media. We want you to be safe. Keep your social distance. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Stop touching your face. Listen to the experts, because we do not need this disease and virus that's affecting our country to be political.